Hello everyone, welcome to Go Tour NZ Flight 1. This flight goes to New Zealand. If you don't intend to go to New Zealand, you're in the wrong place. Let me quickly say, right at the beginning, if you don't have an entry in the drawer that will be held at some point, please see Nadine down the back. Make sure you've already filled a card and your details are in there. Nadine has pens and cards. Okay. You've got the next 45 minutes or so to get those into the box. Okay, I'll just let Nadine hand out those cards. Cool. Okay, so there will be, over the next 45 minutes, I'm going to play you, if you'll just indulge me. My name's John Fitzwater. I set up the company 30 years ago. When we set the company up initially, I had a very good friend who was a BBC Steadicam operator, and he helped me create a promotional video back in the late 90s. Even though it's shot at 1 pixel per square inch, and the bikes in there that you'll see are running on coal. I'd like to play that for you. It still shows New Zealand well. You'll see a much younger me guiding, and my brother Ian, who I set the business up with initially. But it still does a great job of showing off New Zealand, giving the vibe. And then there's another shorter 5-minute one I'd like to show. And then in between, I'll give you some general information on our philosophy. Some of it's covered in one of the videos. Our philosophy, which is, we have a different philosophy of guiding that I won't explain now. I'll let the video do that. But yeah, over the years, we've developed a style of guiding that's. Can I ask just quickly here? 2 questions. How many people have already taken an international guided tour with another company? Okay. So you'll be able to measure my words and the advice or what I will share about how we do it. And you can make your own judgment on that. Another question I'd just like to ask at the beginning. Okay, we're at a BMW event, but I know not everybody is riding a BMW. So substitute your brand into this question. How many of you, when you've been on a long trip somewhere away from home, have had a bike-related issue? Maybe, could be you've worn a tyre out, a puncture. Maybe you tipped the bike over and needed to have something adjusted. How many of you have had to call into a non-BMW dealer, substitute your brand, and have that issue addressed? It's a common thing. During COVID, when I couldn't do business in New Zealand, as you may recall, New Zealand turned into the hermit kingdom. They locked the doors, threw away the key. They even locked us Kiwis out. So for 3 years, 3 years we were hard closed, and then 2 more years afterwards. It took a while for everybody to remember that tourism was a thing. In that time, I indulged my own passion of jumping on my old 1974 Norton, flying it to the US and riding down to Ushuaia and back. That's what I did. So I had to do the same thing. There's not many old classic Norton dealers in South America. Surprisingly, in Cusco, Peru, there's a bar called the Norton Rats Bar, that if any of you have been down there, sadly the Norton owner now has gone, but I had to call into many generic dealers. So the follow-up question that would be, we've all had to stop and get something fixed at a generic shop, but how many of you have had a BMW fault come up on the dash where the generic shop just goes, don't know, we can't fix that? How many of you have been stranded on a trip or just had an occurrence where the only person who could fix it was whatever the dealership brand you're riding? So BMW, the only people who can fix that issue are the people with the very expensive BMW diagnostic computer so that they can run the fault code testing. I know we have our generic ones which are brilliant, we use them too, but sometimes you need the full house dealer with all that diagnostic problem solving ability. I've made my point, just hold that thought during the presentation and I'll return to it at the end. So I'm just going to play a video now. I'm going to, just to make it so you can see the actual pixels that are playing, I'll play that video and then we'll take it. After that, I'll carry on.
go at our own pace and have the group break up and enjoy each other later in the day. Occasionally we run into somebody for lunch, stop and have lunch or get gas, and then we all split up and go our way.
We dined on venison and fresh lamb and mussels and smoked mussels there. Everything was just absolutely delicious and well cooked. I mean, properly prepared. I like beef.
Yeah.
That's 11, right? 11.
Do you recall ever being outside of numbers? No. The transition from one to another really great. Like yesterday, popping over the mountains, and then all of a sudden, when there's the sea and right to the ocean, underneath, likewise on the fossil west coast, between the south, and there's beauty, lightning up to go out and still have comes back for years.
rights have standings. I don't think everybody knows that we're as conducive to motorcycles. I can't imagine anybody better than I really easy to see what's happening.
Okay, thank you for, I know it's a long video. Couple of points that, and apologise for the sound, I didn't quite do a sound check before, and it was a bit muffled. Just reiterating some of the points that were made in there. One of the ladies said she thought she was coming on a motorcycle tour, but it turned out to be much, much more than that. And she spoke about jet boating and helicopter. That is a comment we get a lot from people, is that there was an extra element to the tour, rather than just riding and camaraderie. You know, it's immersive in the New Zealand experience. So that was one of the points she was making. Other points that from there that are kind of, you'll notice the tour group size wasn't very big. We do a maximum of 8 to 9 people. The tours are supported, firstly guided by me. We've always done guided by owner only. We don't have contract guides. It's just been one of our philosophies is owner, myself. When my brother was involved as my partner, we guide everything. Some of you have taken guided tours. You'll have had guided contract guides, and some of them would have been great and some of them would have been mediocre. That's eliminated with us. It's guided by the buck stops with me guy. So, and I'm jealous and possessive of that position. It's how you feel when you leave after the tour is, and whether you would go and tell others, go with these guys. That is obviously something we want you to go home with that feeling. So, guided by owner, small groups. We use a luxury 10-seater support van. The latest version wasn't shown in there, but it's a very, very comfortable van. We use the tour van in a number of different ways. Firstly, we get quite a few couples, I'd say probably 70, 75, maybe even 80% of our business are couples. And sometimes husband, wife ride their own bikes. Sometimes they're riding two up. Sometimes one of the partners wants to ride at their not so much ride at their whim, but be a passenger at their whim. That's one of the reasons why the tour van is there. Today I might sit it out. Somebody wakes up and goes, yeah, the weather's not great. I'm going to sit it out today, and they can tour in the van with us. Sometimes we get a non-ride, a passenger who doesn't interested in motorcycling at all. It's very rare, but sometimes somebody will come along and just spend the whole trip in the tour van. And we make sure as guides, myself and my assistant, I've got Nadine down the back there, has guided with me since most of these years. We will go to an extra point to make sure that the passenger in the van doesn't feel like they're a tag-along. So one of the other points that was mentioned in the video was one of the ladies said it was really nice to have breakfast together and then after the briefing maybe leave together, but at some point split away and go and do our own thing. And I will come to the philosophy of that in a bit, but that's very much a philosophy that we follow, is everybody taking responsibility for themselves to make sure they have the best possible experience in New Zealand. I see my job as a guide is similar to that as a golf caddy or a concierge. I answer questions, I find solutions. But like a golf caddy, I don't play the shot for you. That's your job. So we have a pre-tour briefing where we kind of set the culture of the tour, and it works very well, that pre-tour briefing. And I remind everyone, as one client, one of the reasons we have the briefing is after about 3 years of guiding, we had a client say one day that at breakfast they were saying, hey guys, you guys are going a bit quick for me. Could you slow down a bit, please? And there was another British guy on the tour who actually took 5 separate guided tours with us. A bit of silence, and I was about to speak and answer the question when Alex, this other 5-time client, stood up and said in a very plummy English voice, you may notice that John has conveniently equipped each motorcycle with its own throttle. I suggest you use yours how you like. Alex wasn't the most tactful guy. The other English guy was a bit miffed. I jumped in and said, what Alex, the point is trying to make is ride your own ride. There's no one in front of you twisting your throttle, squeezing your brake. So from there, I developed this policy of talking to everybody before the trip. Don't let the guy in front of you control your bike. Do your own thing. If you want to, we've had people get up early in the morning, send me a message on WhatsApp. We use a kind of a messaging app to manage the group and communications. Send me a message and say, hey John, Sally and I are splitting early today. Won't be at breakfast. And off they go. They take off early because they plan to do some long side route. Everyone on the tour has an itinerary booklet that we saw being flicked through there. There's usually about 10, 12 pages per riding day. Optional routes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good information on do this, don't bother doing this, you don't have the time. So we deselect the too many distractions. But these days, as technology has improved, whereas back in the video we looked at, we saw people looking at map booklets and using maps. We did have primitive GPSs back then, but these days in the map booklets, you'll see this QR code. In fact, if you were to scan that photo now with your phones, That QR code would open a route in New Zealand. It transfers from your phone to the Android Auto, Apple CarPlay 7-inch device we have on every bike. The route automatically opens. You scan the ride you want to do for the day and off you go.
Typical day, right?
Yeah.
Tour,
Sure.
point to point.
Yep.
How many miles?
Rather than miles, because New Zealand is twisty and mountainous, let me tell you that what we, on average, you'll be riding 3.5 to 4 hours a day. Because of New Zealand being the land of contrasts, where every 15 minutes, this is the gift of New Zealand. National Geographic said in the 1930s, New Zealand seems like someone boiled down and condensed all the continents of the world into 2 small islands. The South Island being having the most contrast. So it's like every 15 minutes it's change. You'll want to, if you want to spend all day riding and you're like, I'm a ride guy, then you talk to me in the morning, I craft you up a special route. I might give you a special route that's different to the rest of the others on the group. So if you wanted to squeeze 5-6 hours in, and the hell with lunch, I just want to ride all day, that's what I do. I create a custom route for you, send it to your device specifically, and off you go. But 4.5. What typical pattern on a day would be, we get up, we have breakfast, it's usually around 8 o'clock in the morning. All the breakfasts and meals are included, barring lunch. So the only things you're paying for yourself once you're on tour, optional activities, fuel, and your midday meal. Each of the lodges we stay at, and we tend to use B&Bs. You saw some images of some of the accommodations. There's lodges, we have breakfast there. It's not like a light breakfast. You can have it as sumptuous as you like. That generally will get you right through the day. You might stop for a coffee once or twice during a day, just for a comfort stop. We suggest places. These are the best places to stop and refresh at. Avoid these places from experience. And then you'll get back on the bike and do a few more hours. So we have a breakfast together, we have a briefing. There's a bit of a discussion by day 2 or 3. I know everybody's preferences. There's the long mile guy, there's the direct route guide, there's the stop and take photos couple. I tailor make it. And everybody gets their own custom adventure. So the word we use is sovereignty, as you making sure that you retain your sovereign right to get out of the tour what you want. So even though we're in this group camaraderie session, the only time you might actually spend time with others on the tour, if you are of that mind, is breakfast and dinner. We arrive maybe 4:30 at the lodge, the B&B, sometimes hotels, but in general we like small boutique accommodations. Nothing over the top, but something with character, great hosts, and some extra zing, X factor. It's not just a place to sleep, it's a place that you think, wow, I love that place. So yeah, typically we might arrive at 4:30. The tour van turns up with the luggage. Of course, it's carrying all your luggage. And any passengers who have decided not to ride with the riders for the day, we get the luggage to the rooms. Then maybe between 5:30 to 6:30, we'll break out the icebox. We carry soft drinks, beer, wine, spirits. Not spirits, snacks is what I was trying to say. Cheese, crackers. And then we'll have pre-dinner drinks on the lawn at the lodge, and then into the tour van and off to a small boutique restaurant. It's again one of our style differences. A lot of tour operators choose to stay in a hotel with a restaurant. We like to stay in the best boutique accommodation nearby and then take you to the specific best restaurant rather than convenience of walk out of your room, down the hall and into the restaurant. So again, it's a style difference. I'll pause there and just give you a better quality video, if I can get out of photo mode. I'm going to find where he. So, the South Island. Do we go to both? The answer is depends. You'll hear from me a lot. On the right, 14 days on the South Island. That's a tip for New Zealand in general. If you're coming to New Zealand, you have less than 16 days. Spend it all on the South Island. If I was to rank the top 21 days riding, best 21 days to see in New Zealand, the South Island would fill the top 18. So we've had people come 2-3 times before coming a fourth. Maybe on the fourth time they'll say, okay, can I see the North Island now? But this, in general, if people have done both islands, the North Island is, the difference between the two, both islands are twisty, mountainous and covered in great riding roads. But there's a vibe difference. The North Island is more about commerce, people getting on, making money, doing business. The South Island, anyone of you who have been here, I'm sure you'll agree with me, on the South Island, everybody's having fun. It's more about recreational. If you're looking for more tourism infrastructure, if you're looking for that perfect cafe overlooking the ocean where you can have a nice seafood lunch, you'll find that on the South Island. On the North Island, you'll find a pie shop and a corner grocery store. It's a different vibe. But it's got great roads too. But the South Island has more contrast. One minute you'll be Bend, Oregon, then you'll be Coastline, Washington. Sorry, sir.
Everything starts and ends in Nelson?
Doesn't, no. Generally, that's our home base. And we live in Nelson. That's why we live there. Most of us moved there because of the motorcycling. Nelson has 5 national parks, golden sand beaches. It's a town of only 60,000 people. Our base is located on the southern edge of town. We pick people up from the airport, take them to the lodge where we stay at, and you're literally out of the driveway of the lodge, within 5 minutes you're into the mountains. So it's an ideal place for us to start a tour. Get people acclimatized to riding on what is known as the correct side of the road in our country. And then, but we do, on longer tours, 21 days, if we might do a mix of 7 days on the north and 14 on the south, some mix like that. Sometimes we have to start in Auckland. But when we do start in Auckland, we start in a location where we can get out of Dodge quickly and easily without fighting traffic snarl. First time I went to Spain, I started in the middle of Madrid and it was crazy. That was back in the 90s. But and I promised I'll never do that to my clients. So yeah, we start in Auckland sometimes and we finish in Nelson. Or we'll do a reverse of that. Let me just, if I can find where my file was hidden.
Check the file folder.
Yeah, I thought he put a shortcut on the desktop, but my devices wouldn't play with this. Files, yes, thank you. And Okay. Is that going to let me? The philosophy on guiding is different to. How do I maximise that?
Put the mouse over top of it.
Say again?
Put the mouse over top of the map.
How do I?
iPad OS.
I want to get that one to go.
Yeah. So
Ah, done.
Click this. Oh, wait.
Done. I'll get rid of that.
Let's close that. And now
There we
you
go. Many other tour operators. The phrase we like to use is sovereignty. So maintaining your own sense of sovereignty and making sure you get out of the tour adventure with us what you want out of it. We've added the technology for people to be able to ride the route, choose from an option that they want for the day, the long route, short route, the extra side routes. Everybody on bike has that option. You have your itinerary, the crafted itinerary booklet, which is written for every tour. There's the GPS devices, there's the tracking and links back to us in the tour van. You have accountability with responsibility to have your own adventure, supported fully by us. On our signature package is what we call, and we've always called, the best of the best. And the theory there, the reason for the best of the best is we're using the best accommodations we can find, the most pleasurable places to stay, the best food, and we think we're doing the best job of guiding. And the best routes is the best of the best of the best of. On the best of the best package, we include the pre-tour accommodation, we include the night before the tour starts, the pre-tour dinner is included as well, and the post-tour dinner. And then on the tour package itself, all your accommodation is included, and all the breakfasts and all the evening meals. And of course, the motorcycle and the guiding, of course. We like character lodges. We're in an 1860s gold rush era lodge at the moment. This is fairly typical of what we like to use. It adds character. We can relax in the gardens in the evenings, afternoons, have a drink before we go in the van to the special restaurant. Many of these places I've been staying at since the 90s. We at award-winning restaurants, the dining is always open menu, a la carte. But we spend a lot of money on food, but it's a unique part of the tour. It's always enjoyed. And yeah, always looking to hit those high notes with food. We've got fabulous riding here, and New Zealand has fabulous food as well. In terms of the itineraries that we create, we developed right from the outset theme that we call off the track. Rather than stay in big cities, we will choose small townships near big cities where we can stay in small unique accommodation and use back road routes to get there. We're always looking for the roads that give the best motorcycling delight, the love of scenic back roads, stimulating for both rider and passenger. We do hybrid tours where back road off gravel adventure or sealed highway. From the moment they land in New Zealand, we typically would book their connection from Auckland to Nelson, where we start most of our tours. We've arranged the transfer flight, we're meeting you at the airport, we're taking you to the B&B, the bike is waiting at the B&B, and the same on reverse, flying out. We move the bike from the B&B to our storage facility, we get you to the airport for your departure. The moment you land in Auckland, you're pretty much taken care of. The very first person who toured with us, a guy from England, who I'm still friends with, his name is Alex Eggert. Alex wrote an article, No Boring Roads in New Zealand. I think his final sentence, if I could paraphrase it, was everybody owes it to themselves. to do a tour of New Zealand before they die. And it was about an 8-week trip. Right. I'm not going to play this whole video, but this is that same group, and I have to thank them. They put this together. We put our branding on it, but these guys sent me this video of their impression of their trip.
Best of the best.
We stayed in the best places and ate at the best restaurants. This doesn't get any better than that.
I did the, John calls the best of the best tour in New Zealand, and had a really amazing experience. I've never done a tour like this, and didn't kind of know what to expect. And John and Lenny are just really fantastic at making a great experience for everyone on the tour.
Well, the best thing was the level of detail that John went through with planning. Everything was planned ahead, took the worry and the suspense out of traveling. The meals were all planned, transportation, the lodging, little things that most likely wouldn't even think of when you're on are all had already been taken care of.
John is so knowledgeable. No matter what questions you had, wherever we went, he provided lots of explanations about the history, about the geology. So it was very informative just from his level of knowledge.
You arrive at your hotel at the end of the day after your ride, and your luggage is there and it's set up for you, and there's a cold drink. There's different route options, so if you want to ride mileage, if you want to ride twisties, if you want to see scenic sights, you just get the link and punch it into the nav system, and you've just got options in terms of what you want to do on your tour. It's very bespoke.
He tailored every day based upon the conditions and the weather and the personal preferences of the riders.
If you've never been to New Zealand or have been here but haven't seen perhaps as much of the country as you'd like to, this is a really fantastic way to see just the amazing sights and scenery that New Zealand has to offer. And a motorcycle is just better than anything else. John just makes it a very special, unique experience.
We would highly recommend him, and I'm really grateful for the people we got to travel with as well. It was a really special group. We all got along well and had a lot of fun together, and I feel so fortunate to have made such good new friends.
If you are interested in a motorcycle tour and you would like New Zealand, you can't do any better than this tour with John and Lee. The best of the best. It's a great way to see New Zealand.
Okay, so I think it always carries more weight when you hear it from somebody else other than the person who you would think would be selling. Let me also say this, so far the thrust of this has been, it's all been about guided, the narrative so far. We are a specialist guided tour and bespoke itinerary creation business. That's our gig. We kind of rent bikes on the side when they're not being used in the tour fleet. So, okay, we do, if it's not conflicting, using our resources. I bought a spare, I bought a replacement. I bought a replacement. Susan's taking one of our bikes for a long-term rental in January, February? Yeah. We pride ourselves on flexibility. If people have a special request and we think it has some merit, and there's a win-win character to it, then we will kind of do our very level best to find a solution to that problem so that we can both benefit. So we work hard at that. It's part of our philosophy. The other thing, the point I was going to make is we can also do this in what we call a self-guided format. So we do a lot of detailed itinerary, kind of like a concierge type package for clients who would either prefer to ride perhaps on their own, or they've been to New Zealand, taken a guided tour before, and they think, I'd love to go back, but don't know that I need the guided next time. Self-guided package is another option, doing exactly, containing all the elements of what you saw there. Custom length, custom dates, special interest. We've had people who have said, I'm really into, we've had people who are into high-tech engineering. We had one guy, jet engines, and there were certain people in New Zealand that he knew about that were producing some high-tech componentry for his industry. Can you weave that into my tour, my self-guided? So we can do that. People who are into weaving, carving, photography, yep, we can weave that theme through your self-guided tour. We can integrate a lot of that onto a guided tour as well, but just pointing out what we can do on a self-guided. So you get the same level of support. The bit you don't get is me right there, and you don't get the van and the trailer carrying your luggage. What we do have though is, with all the modern technology, they still have the devices on the bikes. We have WhatsApp or various messaging apps where each morning they can contact me and say, John, can you give us a weather update and road construction? Any changes overnight in the last week? Yeah, actually, one of the bridges is out. You're going to have to route around it. Here's your new route. Boom. I send it to the Met through the message app. They click on it. Their phone opens. The phone talks to the navigation device, and they're off. And it's tracking back to us. I can see where they are, and should they ring and say, puncture? Doesn't happen very often. Very rarely, but it's okay. We know someone nearby who can help with that. We've called them and they're on their way to you. Which kind of brings me to that point that I was talking about before, was when I was asking the question about how many of you have had to been in a moment where the bike shop that you were called at when you were out on your adventure didn't have the resources to solve the problem you had. To me, the way I think of that, that's a depth problem. Their depth of expertise and support is shallow. So Harley dealer's not going to be able to help you with your BMW fault on the dash, where the bike's gone into limp mode or won't start mode. Because we are a New Zealand specialist guided and self-guided tour company, that's all we do. And we do that deliberately, and our philosophy is we're not going to pretend we have depth of knowledge in other countries. But in New Zealand, we have depth. So that means when it comes to a problem, we can solve issues that others might go, sorry, I can't help with that. Could be anything from a breakdown, could be, we had a client this year who whose wife had a bee sting in the neck and really allergic, and they had to abandon their trip right there, right then. we kind of had the ability to adapt to that situation. In this case, it wasn't that hard, but the point I wanted, the ability to know people in that area, having been kind of doing this for 30 years and being in the motorcycle industry 20 years before that, we have layers of friendships, connections, and things like that where we can pull a rabbit out of a hat on a specific problem. So in terms of the other analogy I use when I think of that is we're not certain tour companies have a catalogue of countries they come to. I kind of regard that a little bit. I'm not denigrating them. Many of them are my friends. Some of the other tour operators, we've been doing this together for a long time. But we're not, I kind of regard that as kind of like a McDonald's meal. You know what you're going to get in any one country. Their package includes this, and it's kind of cookie cutter. We're more of a specialty restaurant where you can even talk to the chef and say, can you do my steak in butter instead of canola oil? Yeah, sure, no problem. That is kind of the difference with regard to us. It's bespoke, responsive, flexible, adjustable. So I'm not going to denigrate anyone else's product. Ed, hi. Yeah. Thanks, Ed, and thank you very much. And on Ed's specific case, as he will know, a stone got into a BMW radiator in the wrong place on one time, and Ed rang us and said, John, overheat warning on the dash. And it's our philosophy of sorting our own problems out. For example, if you have a breakdown, we don't use a third-party organisation to see if they can fix it. In this case, it was me in the emergency hot seat and threw another bike in the back of the van and drove down overnight. He was about 1,000 kilometres from home.
He rode all night. I woke up at 7 in the morning. He's sitting outside of the trailer. That's pretty amazing.
So, yeah, we take it personally. Solve the problem and solve it now. So it's that depth thing again that I was talking about. Anyway, I made my point about we're specialists. We only do New Zealand. If I join the dots on the point I'm making is, the point I'm trying to make is, if you know you have a BMW electrical fault and it's coming up on the dash, chances are a full house BMW dealer with the correct stuff is going to be the people who can fix it. And it's that's a metaphorical equivalent, if you like, of what we believe we do in New Zealand. Is we've got the problem solving and the ability to cover the broad depth of problems, solutions that need finding better than anyone else. That's with regard to New Zealand. I don't pretend to know. While I've ridden the world a lot, and sometimes places like the Pyrenees and Spain, I've done a lot. I can put an itinerary together, but I don't have any depth there. So that's just the point I wanted to make. So we'll go question and ask questions now. But
so you've had 30 years of experience,
yes,
trying to maintain and have observed the reliability of the different motorcycles that you've had over the years.
Yep.
Do you have a most favorite make and model for reliability or ease of?
I might have to blaspheme here.
Yeah.
The most reliable bikes we've had in the fleet have been Hondas by a mile. We don't have many of them, but the ones... We have a core of BMW. It's a good time for me to point this out. We have a core of BMW. 85% of our clientele is North American, and our association with the BMW MOA goes back into the 90s, and BMW MOA members have just beaten a path to our door over that time. They love international touring, blah blah. So it's been a good relationship for us. We can't get by in New Zealand on just having one brand. Inevitably, we're all enthusiasts, and a common call for us is, I mean, you saw Can-Am's there. A common call is there's 8 of us want a tour. Book out your tour completely. I'm going up to see a group in Detroit who did that in January of this past year. They booked us out in total. They said we just got with this one weird guy that will only ride Goldwings. Do you have a Goldwing? Yes, we do. And there's this gal who doesn't feel safe holding with the weight anymore. Do you have a Can-Am? Yes, we have a Can-Am. I call those our helper models. They help us get the big bookings. That's why I call them helpers. So we have this kind of range of alternatives. So we have a few Hondas in the fleet. We never do anything to them. We just sell them with miles on them. The biggest issue for us with BMWs is electrical. BMW love to make the latest and greatest by adding technology, and that technology, how many of us have got 5-year-old cell phones in our drawers at home? And every now and then you think, maybe I could still use that thing for something. And you start it up, and then it reminds you why you don't use it anymore, because the software's not up to spec. Unfortunately, BMW pile in the top, and we spend a lot of time making sure those fault codes are cleared and chasing them down. We had a F750 GS in the fleet it was a 700 GS that would just not start. And it turned out that particular year of that 700 GS, BMW's ECU, that had an algorithm that matched expected speed to gear change position. When the gear change potentiometer stops working, the bike will log 3 faults, and then the buffer's full and the bike just will not go. You can bump start it, but it will not start on the dash. There's no documented information about that anywhere. We had to discover it. We asked BMW, they couldn't tell us. Eventually, I've got a very, very intuitive service manager, and he said, you know what? Let's try. So we cleared all the adaptation values and set it up. We're pretty good at problem solving, but that isn't an uncommon problem, running into an undocumented sensor expected value system. So the BMWs are great mechanically, and they're great in their first X number of years. But if you can run into undocumented, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot. So that's my only commentary on it. Never worn one out mechanically, but it's always the electrics. Any other questions, sir?
Talk about seasons.
Seasons, good question. Okay. So us Kiwis ride year round, but the problem is that, well, in terms of demand, as soon as it's warmer up here than down there, because we've got opposite seasons. When your riding weather warms up. But if you think of mid-November through to mid-April, with November, December, and April being shoulder. The warmest months are January, February, March. November, December are late spring. Good times to come and ride if you want to beat the kind of international. New Zealand doesn't get crowded. When I see tourism in the Northern Hemisphere, US, Europe, okay, I get crowds, but we never quite get that in New Zealand. But you have got the ability to ride off peak. So November 2. One more question and then we'll do this draw. Your US phones will work in New Zealand. There are most phones have a number of frequencies that they operate on. We don't use, I think you still have some CDMA operators up here. Most of it's GSM. New Zealand is now wholly GSM. So, but what I would say for most clients is, and I tell them beforehand, talk to Verizon or whoever you're with and buy the international per day charge that allows you to run on your US plan or your Canadian plan and operate in New Zealand. If you can't do that, we're happy to provide a SIM for your phone to run on a New Zealand operator or a New Zealand phone. But this navigation and support system that we like, it's not compulsory, but our recommendation is a working phone with mobile data so that you're seamlessly navigating and we can see where you are. So yeah, they work fine. You just need to talk to your operator and say, I want New Zealand service.